ADHD Awareness Month, Reframing ADHD, Discovering New Perspectives.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about what else can we do when we are raising a child to middle school and an adolescent that is diagnosed with ADHD. For me, the most valuable piece of information first is I need to make sure always I'm doing what I can to save the relationship between parent and child. For me, relationship is everything. It comes before having good grades in school. It comes before you wanted to be really good at certain sport. That relationship between a parent and child is key. And the way I build in that relationship from a very young age is to know, to put attention to what they need and how I am educating myself about how ADHD is affecting them. So start with building that relationship and start in second, then go to educate yourself. How is this diagnosis of ADHD is affecting my child? Because it's going to be different. Listen to what your child needs. I will always tell parents, put aside the comments of other people, family members, friends, when they come with what I did for my child is this and it worked. Say thank you. That's great because it worked for your child. I will take it into consideration. I can listen, but that does not mean that that strategy tactic that they use is going to work for my child. It's important that we understand developmentally, where is my kid? And as we know that everyone diagnosed with ADHD in maturity level and emotional level, they are going to be 3 to 5 years behind their peers. So because I have an 8-year-old, that does not mean that every strategy that you use for an 8-year-old might work for mine. For mine, because they're still might behaving as a 5 or 6-year-old level, I still have to use strategies at that level. I still have to create a behavioral plan for him that is going to look different. They might need more hand holding at that age, and that's okay. But then when they become 12 and their maturity level is at 10, things have changed. So you have to be very aware about developmentally where your child is and revisit whatever strategies you're using, whatever behavioral plans you have implemented. You need to constantly be adapting that, changing it, because they're growing up and things are changing, but also because our ADHD people tend to lose interest very quick. And our children will do that. They will lose interest in something, no matter that it's working. You have to constantly be changing it for them. So being aware that the strategy that you use for your 8-year-old might be different for your 12-year-old, or it might be the same. It depends again on the child. And when they're growing, I always invite parents to think about middle school is when I start creating a little bit more that independence, just a tiny bit. I still, as a parent, have to keep their control, have to help them to set up their structures and be consistent, but I start giving them a little bit more leeway in how they manage themselves. So when they go to high school, that process is not as dramatic as sometimes it happens when the parent let go in high school. So it's very important to put attention that, okay, so they're in high school, I do need to build those executive skills with them and help them. And another way of helping them to do this is by talking out loud and discussing what you're doing and how come you're using that skills and how come you're talking out loud about, when you use your planner, either electronic or paper, when you set up a schedule to know when you're doing your homework. Whatever it is that you're working, it's good to talk out loud, to process that information with them, and to, again, from a very young age, we can ask them what works for them because they will tell us. There's nothing that I consider so honest about a child is that they're so truthful. They tell it like it is. So listen to them. Sometimes we don't like it, but listen and take into consideration their ideas, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to carry out their plan. It's not just us as parents, it's them. So I will advise you to build a relationship, get educated, and then continue to set up those conversations that you know what skills works for them, revise the plans periodically, and know that at every stage of their lives and at every age, there's going to be a difference, and you just have to keep building it and be patient with them.
The mission of ADHD Awareness Month is to educate the public about ADHD by sharing reliable information based on science and peer-reviewed research. ADHD Awareness Month is brought to you by ACO, the ADHD Coaches Organization, ADA, the Attention Deficit Disorder Association, and by CHADD, Children and Adults with ADHD, in partnership with ADHD Europe.